Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah. This is Ahmed Faris, the founder of the Productive Muslim Company, and welcome back to this series on how to use the productivemuslim.com free planners. So in this video, we'll go over the weekly planner and the weekly review, which is an important part of helping you design and stick to the next best version of yourself, spiritually, physically, socially. In the first part of this daily weekly planner, you'll start off by asking yourself, what are my 3-month intentions in the following domains? And this word intentions is pretty crucial. At Productive Muslim, we don't talk about goals, we talk about intentions, because in our faith, Islamic tradition, intentions is the most important part of your action. If your action don't have the right intentions, if your goals don't have the right intentions, then those goals, no matter how amazing they are, might be worthless on the Day of Judgment. So you want to really focus on what's my intention, what is my niyyah, and in this specific case, we ask you, what is your 3-month intentions? Meaning that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows me to live for the next 3 months, then in these 3 months, what is the niyyah, the intention that I want to focus on? And the key word here again is not to say what is my goal that I have to achieve, but rather what's the intention that I have to focus on. So for example, let's say you would like to memorize Quran. So you'd say my 3-month intention is to memorize 1 juz of Quran. Now you could say my 3-month goal is to memorize the Quran, but notice the subtlety of the language and the impact it has on your own psyche. When you say I've got a 3-month goal to memorize the Quran, you almost feel like you're in control, you got to focus on it, and if you don't achieve it, you might feel disappointed, feel like this goal is maybe not worth it for you. But when you say my intention is to memorize Quran, there is an element of recognizing some things are within your control, some things are outside of control, but as long as your intention is pure and you really, really want to do this, you really want to focus on memorizing Quran for the next 3 months or memorize 1 juz of Quran next 3 months, you would actually proceed and give the motivation to focus on it. Intentions make things more of a process versus just another tick in our box, and that's why it's so important. And if la qaddar Allah, if Allah does not allow you to live for 3 months, the fact that you had that intention, you've set that intention, that 3 months intention, will mean that you will actually be rewarded for that intention even if you do not actually achieve it. Or if you fall sick, or if there's some kind of emergency happening in your life that did not make it easy for you to focus on this intention, again, you'll be rewarded for that intention. So start with intention. Ask yourself, what's my 3-month intentions in the following domains? And it's not just about the spiritual intentions, but ask yourself, what is my 3-month intentions spiritually? What is my 3-month intentions physically? Now, you might think, well, what is my 3-month intention physically? Might be, oh, I want to lose weight, for example. I want to lose 10 kilos in the next 3 months. Well, that's one level of intention, but you can upgrade your intention a little bit. You can say, for example, I want to lose 10 kilos in terms of weight so that it's easier for me to get up and pray more for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that it's easier, so that, for example, I take better shape of my health, so that it's easier for me to fast, for example. It's easier for me to spend quality time playing with my family, for example. So the idea is that what's the intention again? So it's not just about losing weight or just a certain goal, but what's the intention even behind something that might seem mundane, like trying to lose weight or trying to exercise more. So ask yourself, what's my 3-month intention in physical well-being? What's my 3-month intention in social well-being? Maybe you realize that you're somebody who gets angry pretty quickly, or you realize you're somebody who doesn't listen very carefully, or you realize you don't spend enough time with your parents. Well, say that my intention over the next 3 months is to be a better listener, to spend more quality time with my family, to be able to connect more deeply with my distant relatives. You set those intentions, and again, these intentions are for you to start focusing on and really make sure that you work towards them as well as while you're trying to seek Allah's pleasure, inshallah ta'ala. And finally, what's your intention in terms of work or school? So if you have work, or if you go to college or school, ask yourself, well, what's my intention? It could be the intention is for you to spend that time revising for exam, or intention to complete a certain project. But even something as mundane or as day-to-day as work, What's the intention? Because you might have a big project work or a small project work, and you say, well, my intention is to do this project with ihsan, with excellence. My intention is to really become an expert in this field and learn about this in the best possible way. Asking yourself the question of intention is very powerful, and the fact you're putting this 3 months sort of time frame for yourself makes it much easier for you to start translating that into your weekly goals. But before you go to your weekly goals, the second part of this this weekly planner is asking yourself, what barakah sources will you tap into this week? And again, at productivemuslim.com, we really focus on this idea of adopting a barakah culture versus a hustle culture. Life is not about just ticking things off a to-do list and achieving more with more. Life is about living an intentional life for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and being the best version of yourself, spiritually, physically, socially, across all your roles. And one of the things that help you achieve that is by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala putting barakah in your life, putting barakah in your time, putting barakah in your wealth, putting barakah in your children, putting barakah in your work, putting barakah in your health. So the question is, well, how do I attract barakah in my life? How do I bring this whole idea of barakah into my life? Well, if you check out some barakah sources, we actually have a whole sheet that comes with this where it talks about 21 easy barakah experiments, and you can actually apply them. So ask yourself each week, which of these barakah experiments will I focus on? For example, will I pray istikhara for any decision I have to make today? Will I say Bismillah consciously? Will I double my time with the Quran? Will I give charity to someone I know and someone I don't know? Will I do a small sacrifice for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Will I turn my worries into supplication? So these are barakah experiments that you can start engaging with and start noticing the barakah. And inshallah ta'ala, we have some more resources on barakah under this video for you to learn about this idea of barakah and how to apply it in your life. So the second part of this weekly review is asking yourself, what are the barakah sources that I will tap into this week and make them part of my weekly plan? Then step 3 is where you talk about those tasks, those really important tasks you got to focus on this upcoming week. Could be a big meeting you're preparing for, it could be the big project, it could be memorizing that 5 pages of the Quran you said you'll focus on. What are those really important tasks that you need to focus on this upcoming week? And notice, for those of you who watched the video on the daily planner, this weekly important task will feed into the daily planner. If you haven't watched that video, you can check out that video on how this week's most important task will become almost like the input for your daily planning as you go along during the week. Now, once you've completed these first 3 parts, you understood your 3-month intentions and where you're heading in life, you understood what barakah sources track in your life, and you are clear on what are your MITs, your most important tasks this week. Next thing is you look at your calendar and you start deciding on, okay, based on my 3-month intentions, based on the barakah sources that I'll focus on, and based on my MITs, then how can I block my calendar, make sure I make time for those important stuff, make time for those barakah experiments, make time to do something towards my 3-month intentions. You start almost blocking time out in your calendar and making it that commitment, that personal commitment that you are inshallah ta'ala going to work towards this. And it's not just some ideas you have in your mind, but you're actually putting a time and place for it inshallah ta'ala. Once you've blocked out time for it, at the end of each week, you will come back and you start doing this weekly self-accountability introspection and start asking yourself, okay, this week, if I were to look back this whole week and how it unfolded, what am I thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this week? What did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow to happen this week? Maybe there was a big breakthrough you had in that meeting. Maybe Allah made it easy for you to memorize those pages of the Quran. Maybe you were able to commit to your physical well-being. Maybe you spent some quality time with your family that week. What are you thankful for? And again, this is about attributing the outcomes and how things unfold in your life to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not to yourself. And then the next question is, what am I committing to again or recommitting again next week? So a lot of us, sometimes we look at a weekly plan and realize there are some things which I should have worked on but did not work on. Well, this question is asking you, are you willing to make that intention again, at least to recommit to those tasks for those, those intentions, those barakah sources, those MITs for the upcoming week? And this way, there's that continuity where you look back in the previous week and see what went right, what needs to work on, and you look forward and start connecting it. And this way, if you were to do this on a weekly basis, along with our daily planner, makes you stay engaged, makes you stay productive, and hopefully living the best version of yourself spiritually, physically, socially. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh.